Hi, everybody. So today we're doing our test prep. So like I've said, we're pausing our podcast, and now we're going to be doing test prep. So when you take the test, it's going to be into 2 days. Both days, you're going to have some writing portion. On one day, you'll have the informative piece. On the other day, I don't know what order they do it in, you'll have an argumentative piece to write. Both of them are essays. You're also going to have a mix of different readings that you'll have to answer questions for and write your essays over. So you're going to have nonfiction pieces and you're going to have literary pieces. So today our practice is going to be over nonfiction reading. So we're reading a speech. Excuse me. And then we're going to practice the informative writing part going through. And when we do the informative writing part, and I'll get to it when I explain it, but we're going to do it as an outline for the first time. So when we practice again 2 Wednesdays from now, then we'll do your literary reading and we'll practice the argumentative outline or argumentative essay. And instead of writing an outline, you'll write the whole essay and get feedback on it. So for this practice, this is what we're reading. So you should have a paper copy of this. So we're reading the famous speech by Zit-Kala Shah. She's an Indigenous activist. So anytime you take this test, you have 90 minutes both days, which is plenty of time to take the test. This isn't like the ACT where you're sort of running full pace to get it done. The amount of questions and reading they give you on your state test should be enough to get done in that time frame without having to run to get the whole thing done. So whenever you're reading, the very first thing you want to do is go to the back and look at the questions that you're having to answer. So go to your back page and let's look at here. So also when you take this test, you're going to take it online, not on paper. So if you want to with this one, use a highlighter, but when you take it online, it has a highlight option for you. So as you're reading the passages, you can highlight and take notes to know what you need to come back to. Also, when you're taking the test, I will probably be your proctor. Your proctor gives you sheets of paper, like scrap sheets of paper that you can write on. So you can write notes, you can write anything that's important, and you can outline your essays with it. They typically only give you one, but I'm your proctor. So I give you a crap ton of paper. You can have as much as you want. I'll start you out with 2, and I will literally steal like a couple packs of the computer paper for you, and that's what we'll use. So make sure you're taking notes while you're reading or you're highlighting and you're annotating while you read to go back to it. If you're just trying to read one whole big article and then answer questions without annotating, you're not going to get them right because you're taking in a bunch of information at once and then trying to regurgitate it. So slowly go through and annotate while you're reading to help you more easily answer these questions. So, the first thing with that is reading the questions and knowing where you need to pause in your reading to have those annotations. So the first question is going to ask you to look at the sentence, "Let us teach our children that their Indian blood stands for the virtues of their race." And then which of the following words, if it replaced the word virtues in the sentence above, would change the meaning of the sentence? So another big part of passing this test is understanding what in the world they're asking you in the first place. If you just very quickly looked at that question, you might get confused and think they're asking you, what is the definition of virtues? But in reality, they're asking you what one of these words, A, B, C, or D, is the opposite of the definition or does not fit the definition for virtues. So if we put one of these words and replaced it in the sentence, it would change the whole sentence. So we're asking for the not definition in that one. So that means we need to pay attention to when that sentence comes up in the article. Number 2 wants to know what the definition of thrash is used in the section. So it says there are matters that we do not agree upon, and the way to do is to sift them down, thrash them out, and keep thrashing. So again, sort of same idea. We're trying to define a word, and you need to make sure you're paying attention and annotating when you get to those sections in the reading. So like in my selection, I made sure to highlight and circle where I saw those selections so I knew to come back to them when I was answering the questions. So you're highlighting and annotating for those sections because while, yes, you have the sentence to look at, understanding the surrounding paragraph it's in helps you better understand what the word or phrase means. In the third question, we're going to read this paragraph. So again, we know when annotating, we need to highlight, circle, whatever, when that paragraph comes up. And the paragraph says, and to do this, we must have organization. The work of the society has been grinding and constant, early and late. Do you think anyone would work, devote himself entirely to a cause without a salary? If he did not believe in it, then you know we must all work for this thing. that the American Indian must have a voice. He must say what is in him, and by exchanging opinions, we are going to grow. I believe in that, and that is why I am working with my brothers, and I hope as time goes on, my sisters, Indians, will come to do their part in their own homes, and they will help us carry on this work as it must be done so that we may succeed. Give me a moment. Okay, sorry about that. So, I've lost my train of thought now. Okay, so we have this section that is basically the thesis or the entire purpose of the speech. And the speech is going to have a lot of other main ideas, but they're saying that this particular section highlights and communicates the purpose of her speech. So then how does this paragraph communicate Zit Kala Shah's purpose is the question. And then number 4, which option best describes Zit Kala Shah's point of view about Native Americans learning English? So we also know whenever they talk about in here learning English, we're going to need to annotate and focus on that. So right now, what I want you to do with a table partner is to read this. Words are hard. Read the article, go through, and then answer these 4 questions. So you're reading, you're annotating, and you're answering the 4 multiple choice questions. So pause my video now. It may take you about 20 minutes to read through and answer the questions. Take like 20 minutes to read through, answer, and then unpause me when you've answered the questions. Hello. Okay, so now that you've read and answered the questions with your partner, we're going to go through what the correct answers are. So number 1, asking us which of the following words, if replaced the word virtues in the sentence above, would change the meaning of the sentence. The correct answer is C, wealth. Because if you looked back to that section where that sentence is actually said, she talks about good qualities, strengths, and morals as part of those virtues that she's talking about with their children. So wealth is the only one they don't talk about. So wealth does not fit with the definition of virtues. Number 2, ask what the definition of thrash is using the section. So again, we need to look at that entire section that sentence came from. And if we look at that section, we know that it means to discuss with another person. Okay, and what they're trying to do with throw you off with this one too, the definition of thrash usually means to move your body violently. So if you hold your breath underwater, you may thrash about or something like that. But how our authors at Kala Shah is using this means to discuss with another person. You're thrashing your words together, okay? Number 3, if we read the paragraph in the article, how does it communicate the purpose of Zit Kala Shah's piece? And the correct answer is A. It emphasizes the work the society is important, and everyone must work together to accomplish it. So yes, she talks about speaking English. She talks about teaching your children at home. She talks about bringing women into these society meetings. She talks about how the society itself is struggling for money and struggling for time. But all of these come back to that main idea that we have to work together for a better cause and to advocate for themselves more. So it's not going to be that she's frustrated, answer B, because she never talks about being frustrated. Yes, she talks about that they're low on money and they don't have a lot of people, but she doesn't use a frustrated or angry tone within there. C, it convinces the reader that Native Americans should run for U.S. government. She never talks about anybody running for government positions. D, an anecdotal evidence. In that particular section here, she isn't using anecdotal evidence at all. So remember, an anecdote is when you give a story example to highlight or understand the meaning of something better. So it has to be A. And then 4, which option best describes Zit Kala Shah's point of view about Native Americans learning English? It is C. It is helpful to learn, but not necessary. When Native Americans who do not know English should not feel afraid to speak up. So if you went back to that section, she talked about English as a convenience like a code. That it's nice, and a code is nice, it's helpful, but it's not necessary. Okay, that both native languages and English are both helpful, and that the main purpose is to speak up and to do something. It doesn't matter your language going through. So for all of these, you needed to go back into the passage to get that better understanding of it. So now that we finished the multiple choice, what we're going to practice is the essay portion that would have come with this particular reading if it was on the state test. So if you go into your Schoology account, what you'll see here is basically this prompt I'm giving you. I've set it up almost exactly like you would see on the state test. So this portion is sort of just me explaining what you're doing. So in that, you're not going to write a whole essay. You're going to write an outline of what you would write for an informative essay. And so the prompt says, construct a multi-paragraph written response in which you analyze Zit Kala Shah's motivation for writing and presenting this speech at the Convention of the Society of American Indians. You're going to know whether your prompt is argumentative or informative. So in this one, we know it's informative because it's asking me to analyze motivation. So tell me about the motivations. And an argumentative prompt, it's going to tell you to defend, to argue, to support, or something like that. So we know this is going to be our informative one. It says our ideas must be based on ideas that can be found in the passage. You want to manage your time carefully so you can review the passage, plan your response, write a thorough response, and revise and edit your response. They do grade you on grammar. Okay, so many of you in your writing, you never capitalize anything, and you know that you should. They're going to deduct you points on this. You have to revise your writing. You also need to be sure to include an introduction, use evidence passage from this to support your evidence from the passage to support, and then include a conclusion. This is what the state test is going to tell you, that this is what you need. To get full points, you need 4 paragraphs on the informative portion. At minimum, you need 4, okay? And we're going to go through and outline a little bit together what that 4 needs to look like. So if this is our air practice outline, this is what all you'd have to have. You need your introduction, 2 main ideas, and a conclusion, okay? So in your introduction, you first need a hook. So one example of a hook that I could put is Zit Kala Shah's education and experience helped her to become one of the most influential Indigenous activists. Good hooks highlight the importance of your topic. And we know that our topic has to be the motivations for writing this speech, okay? So then I'm going to highlight why Zit Kala Shah is important in the first place for my hook, okay? So your hook can be like an important statement or a quote. Do not use questions, okay? Just don't do it. So, and then your thesis is going to be just fill in the blank. Zit Kala Shah's main motivations for writing this speech were blank and blank. And then you tell me. So what you're telling me is those 2 largest main ideas, the 2 largest main purposes of this speech were this and this, okay? And we know that one of our questions told us, where am I at? Told us about the purpose. So you could go back to this question that asks about purpose and use that question to help you brainstorm your essay from there. So after that, you're then going to go in your main ideas. In whatever order you put your main ideas in your thesis, you have to follow that same organization in the body of your actual essay. So if I say that her first main motivation for writing this speech was to get more Indigenous people to work together for the cause, then the very first thing I put my main idea is the first motivation for giving this speech was to get Indigenous people to work together for the cause. That is my first main idea, okay? And then after you give me that topic sentence, then you give me evidence. So for each paragraph, what I want to see on this outline is the topic sentence and the evidence. We're not going to go into the analysis yet, just those 2. Your topic sentence has to provide the transition. So I put the first motivation. In this one, you can see the next motivation. So you're transitioning, you're showing how you're moving your idea forward, and you give the main idea. Okay, main idea 1. Bam. So topic sentence have to have. Then your evidence, you want to choose the best possible quote from this passage to support that main idea. So you're going to give me evidence, and you always want to also make sure you're introducing your evidence. So I introduce my evidence here by saying the first motivation is clearly seen when Zit Kala Shah says, blah, and you give me whatever quote best supports the main idea you gave here. And then you're doing that a second time. Main idea number 2. Here's my main idea 2 that I put as my second main idea in my thesis. Here's the best possible evidence to support that same main idea, and here it is. Okay, so I could rephrase it in this one, blank motivation. So again, if I use working together, the motivation to work together was supported throughout the speech when Zit Kala Shah said, blah. Okay, so you're giving me the 2 main ideas, topic, sentence, evidence, and then your conclusion is all about wrapping up and summarizing and focusing on the importance of your topic. Do not just take your thesis and copy paste. Okay, you need to rephrase it and put it in new words. So I've rephrased mine by kind of swapping it and saying the motivations of blank and blank clearly show how Zit Kala Shah's speech helped to inspire the council to action. So I've rephrased it. So for your outline, you're doing this, but you're filling in all the stuff that I've left blank. So you're giving me intro, main idea number 1, main idea number 2, and a conclusion. For each of those main ideas, I want a topic sentence, best possible evidence to go in there, okay? And you don't have page numbers for this. So on the state test, you're not going to have page numbers. So instead of in-text citations, you just have to make sure you're stating the author in the sentence. Okay. So for the rest of your class time, it is to outline what you would do for this essay prompt. Okay. And then you're going to submit here, and I'm going to give you feedback on your organization and the evidence you're choosing for this essay outline here. So then when we get to your big argumentative one, then you'll practice the whole outline going through. Okay. So if you have any questions, email me, let me know. But it is your work time to work on your outlines and make sure you submit them. They're due at the end of class, and have a wonderful day.